And then most of my studies happens in France. And then my name is Yilin Wang. I'm currently a junior professor at IHES, and I grew up in China. I moved to France when I was 18, and then most of my studies happens in France, and then in Switzerland for my PhD. Then I also lived for 3 years in the United States for my postdoc, and now I'm back in France at the IHES. So I consider myself as a world citizen, I would say. So I'm also very interested in knowing more cultures and to try to experience different types of life. And yeah, that's me. Actually, with math, I never really experienced a lot of enthusiasm when I was a kid. Also, maybe also at that time, I probably don't know what math exactly is. And it's more about computation and solving problems in schools. And, but maybe one instance I now can think of is when I was a kid, I really like those soap bubbles, and where you can just dip into the bottle and then blow it. You see all colorful bubbles. I really enjoyed that. And I remember there was a moment I thought about why these bubbles are just so round and why they're all round. And I asked my parents, and I was thinking about this. I'm kind of find this amazing. They're beautiful. And my parents told me that because this is the surface which has the smallest area for a given volume that is inside. At that time, I was really amazed by this, and also I didn't know this is actually something about mathematics. But I was just amazed about how people can show by pure logic that proving something like this, and also how nature also managed to follow this type of rules that mathematics. And I think to me that later when I become a mathematician, I kind of can trace back my passion for math. It's never really knowing that this is math, but it's rather about all kinds of curiosity that I had, and I keep asking all kinds of questions, and math ended up giving me a satisfactory answer. And that's also maybe the reason I have followed math in my higher education, and I felt like math is the subject that allows me to pursue my questions till the very end of it. And it's a subject where I am allowed to ask all the whys and hows without someone telling me that that's enough, you don't have to ask more. Yeah, it's really come in the hindsight. I never know, like, actually really liked math. Only when I get in touch to this higher education, the math in higher education in university, then I realized, oh, actually this is the thing I liked. I grew up in China, in Shanghai, and my parents, none of them are academics. I know no one who are academics, but my mom, she's an architect. My dad, he works also in management, and it's I would say it's a family being very supportive, although the bigger environment of the whole academic situation in China is very competitive. But my family has been always very supportive, and they didn't spend much time like other Chinese parents to help me in schools, to succeed in schools. But I have my parents who are good role models. Like my mom would telling me that she was actually the first in class in physics course. She actually wasn't very good in math, but she never said that. But she told me, oh, she was the first in class when she was at school in physics. And maybe that's why I never thought that girls would have any difficulty in STEM. This never has crossed my mind, because my mom, she was the best in the class. And so my parents, they just show me how hardworking they are, and they're really trying to excel in everything they're doing. So this is also I think my family is also very good at like protecting me from all the other people's opinions. Like for instance, there was sometimes opinions about girls shouldn't be pursuing academic success, or girls shouldn't be doing STEM, and they would never let this voice reach me. So I've never heard of that. Like this is only when I got to know this inequality only when I move abroad. Like people, it's a topic that people do talk a lot about. But when I grew up, I never heard of that. I think math, I never know that it can be a job until I enter École Normale. And I also didn't know how doing math would be like at all, even if I don't know the job existed. But it actually happens gradually. It's never a moment that I decide this is what I want, this is my goal. It just, when I enjoy the time when I think about math, and I enjoy being around people who are also enthusiastic about math. I enjoy the moments in the math class. I enjoyed the time where I can ask all the questions to myself and finding an answer. And if the answer is not satisfactory, I will continue seeking answers. And it's in this process, slowly, that I realized that math is the subject which really fits the best the way I'm thinking, and also gives me the most freedom in pursuing my questions that many people would consider why you even bother to think about this. So at the time, when maybe the moment when I get to decide enter which schools after classe préparatoire, so there's the competition thing, concours in France, that you can choose between engineering schools and or École Normale, where École Normale would be much more oriented to research. At that time, I even didn't know mathematician can be a job, but I chose École Normale just because I like their questions on the exams. It really seeking understanding, not just about applications, and really the deep reasons. You can keep asking the deep reason behind everything. So that was a very natural choice to go to École Normale for me. I was lucky enough to enter as well. And then at École Normale, I get to know more the advanced mathematics and know it's a possible career, and then I pursued this path. Yeah, I remember the first theorem, really the first theorem that I proved myself, and it also ended up becoming my first paper. That was something about the Werner energy passing through something called the reversibility of the Werner energy. Basically, we associate a number to some Jordan curve, a curve, And we want to show that this number is invariant under some transformation, basically interchanging the direction, the curve. And I remember the way I come up with the strategy is that first to look at the energy passing through one point. I figured it out very quickly. I'm very confident about myself after doing this. But then I would say, let's do it for 2 points, the second easiest case. But I couldn't do it. I still couldn't do it now. And at that time, so I was thinking maybe my hope originally was that you do 1 point, then you do 2 points, then you do 3 points, then you do n points, and then you do infinitely many points. So the curve will go through all these points and it ended up telling you everything about the curve, and then I will be down. But then I was stuck at the place where there are 2 points. I can't do it. And then I was stuck for a long time, and I was running one day and suddenly had the idea of actually I don't need to do the 2 points. I can do immediately infinitely many points. It's actually easier than 2 points. But this thing also, it was so natural before, is that saying doing 1 point, after doing 1 point I would do 2 points, but never really try to think, like jump way ahead, beyond everything I could imagine. But that way, I don't know why when I was running at that time I was thinking, oh, why not let me just directly do this infinitely many points. And it turned out it worked. And while I was running, I don't have any pen, I can't write it down. And when I have this idea, like I quickly try to finish it, like quickly in my mind. I think, okay, this is probably going to work. When I was running, it definitely slowed down much more. But when I think, okay, this might really work, I rushed back and try to write things down and check a few things. You only feel a bit more reassured when you have written down something. And it seems it worked. And this proof still worked in the end. It's how it was published in the end. Although there are more technical things. But that moment, when I just rushed down, I just say, I can drop everything. I just want to know whether it's true or not. And that's, I think, one thing is really, really nice is that I can't write it down, I have to hold it in my mind. When I have to hold it in my mind, it has to be very intuitive. It can't be complicated. It can't be a lot of difficult computation. I need to have some intuitive idea why it should work. But it really helps that I can't write, so that I have to make this argument as simple as possible in order to hold it in my mind. And it ended up being mainly all the time of my ways of thinking of doing math. I still remember this eureka moment. I remember how happy I was, this ecstasia of this moment. It's just so memorable. And also this also helped me to encourage me, or like set the tone of my future research. I want the thing to be as simple as possible. And it must be elegant. I must have to hold it in my mind. And then I walk. When I think, I walk while thinking sometimes, so that my mind winds off, still keep the simplicity. Yeah, I think that's also a very important moment indeed for me. Especially from my own experience, I do feel like the curiosity, if you have it, is a very precious thing, and you should try your best to protect it. And there might be voices who tell you that you shouldn't pursue this, or you may have doubts about whether you are good, you would be good, or doing this or that, or whether you fit into other people's preset image about what mathematicians are like. All these things can kill your curiosity because you care about things outside of math itself, or even other subject. Doesn't have to be math. I feel like curiosity is really a precious thing that you should do your best to protect it and shield off all the other voices. And I think I'm lucky enough that my curiosity was protected by my parents when I was young. And if you don't have this condition, that you would need to try your best to not listen too much of other voices, but listen to your own heart.